Hello, my name is Josh. I'm a product manager here at VariQuest, and I will be taking you through a training of our new Cutout Maker 2800, as well as the Design Center software that is associated with it. You are currently seeing on the screen the Cutout Maker 2800, as well as the Design Center software. I want to let you know that I will periodically be moving the camera in order to zoom in on certain areas of both of these devices. And I wanted to give you a heads up on that in advance, so that way you're not taken aback by any of the camera shifting or moving. We are going to start today by looking at the Cutout Maker 2800 specifically. So I'm going to start by actually moving the camera and zooming in just a little bit here. So as we look at the Cutout Maker 2800, there are a few things that you will notice. There is a display panel here on the left-hand side of the screen. Right underneath of that, there is a couple of cords as well as the power button. I've already gone through and made sure that this particular device is turned on and that it has been connected to our Design Center, which has our Design Center software installed on it. The Cutout Maker 2800 also has a gantry arm here on the right-hand side of the device. You can simply pop that open by lifting on that cover a little bit. Right behind that, you will actually see the primary blade assembly. I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera ever so slightly and then zoom in so that way we can review the process to change a blade on this particular device. What I'm zooming in on right now is the primary blade assembly. You'll actually see right on the top of this area here are the instructions to remove or change a blade for this particular device. What you'll want to do first is you'll rotate this primary box right here 90 degrees. Sometimes you'll see that these wires stick out a little bit. You'll want to just have a second hand here that's holding those up so they don't get caught on this little top piece. So we are going ahead and turning that 90 degrees. Right down here at the very bottom, this is where it is that our blade is inserted. You can eject or retract the blade by pressing this little button right here at the end of the top panel. So I've gone ahead and selected, I've pushed that little button, and sometimes you have to press it twice. Usually the first time it thinks that you're trying to put a new blade in. The second time will eject the blade, as you see right here. You'll always want to make sure that you are being very careful when you are going through in order to use or change out these blades because they are quite sharp even after they've been used for quite some time. So you'll just grab onto both sides and then see right there that we have removed that particular blade. Whenever it is that you are replacing a blade, you're going to want to get rid of the bad blade or the one that's already been used because a very frequent thing that we will see is um, a school or educator might accidentally keep their used blades and then when they're going through to replace an old blade, they'll put an even older blade in there, and we don't want that to happen to you. So always make sure that once you are done with the blade that you are properly disposing of it. I like to put it in a, um, a bit of folded up paper and then tape that shut to make sure that no one accidentally gets stuck with it. One of the other things of note, or I should say, once you are going through in order to put in the new blade, you're going to want to grab the blade right here and then simply lightly put it into that assembly. If you don't necessarily feel comfortable pressing it in, what I'll often do is take the blade box and just kind of tap on the back or tap the blade with the back of it to make sure that it has gone in as far as it can. Once it's in part of the way, simply press that same eject or retract button, and you can see that it's gone ahead and uh, sucked itself all the way back in there. And then again, you're going to want to go ahead and rotate this another 90 degrees. Again, just watch those wires to make sure that you don't accidentally get caught on anything. And we can then go ahead and close the gantry arm there. And that's been a quick overview of how to change the blade. That's one of the first and most important things for you to be aware of, because when you are initially using the cutout maker for the first time, you're going to want to make sure that you have a blade that has been installed. And this is a quick and easy way to check to make sure that that has been completed. Now I'm going to go ahead and zoom out once again. And so after we have zoomed out, we can now once again see that we've got our whole cutout maker in view. A couple of things of note that are available for you with the Cutout Maker 2800. We do have two separate types of blades, as well as a maintenance kit, or I should say two different types of maintenance kits, and then also a weeding tool. The thing to keep in mind with each of these is they do have some slightly unique uses. Uh, First, between the blades, I'm actually just going to flip them over because you may be able to see a little bit more clearly there that one of them has kind of a red foam backing while the other has a bit of a blue foam backing. The red uh, blade kit, those are good for all of your everyday uses with the Cutout Maker 2800. They can be used for your heavy construction paper, light construction paper, laminated construction paper, as well as your vinyl media. The only thing that you do not want to use them for is a magnetic media. For the magnetic media, you're going to want to make sure that you're using these blue blades instead. When you do open up that blade kit, if you look at the very edge of the cuttable tip for the blades, for the magnetic ones, you will see a little bit of a blue sheen, but that can be difficult to see sometimes. So we always recommend that you just kind of keep the two blade kits separated and clearly labeled, so that way if and when you need to use them, you've got proper access. One of the other items here, this is our tip removal and assembly kit. When we are looking at our cutout maker, if you remember the area where we put in our blade just a moment ago, sometimes that assembly area can get a little dirty or can get a little damaged after very, very heavy use. This kit right here comes with a little wrench as well as a replacement tip here. That will be something that you can use throughout the life cycle of your Cutout Maker 2800. You can, we have a dedicated video specifically on how to replace that cutout tip assembly. We also recommend that if you are ever curious about it or have any questions, feel free to contact our tech support line. They are always happy to take you through kind of those maintenance steps. The main maintenance kit, just a couple of things that are included in that I want to call out is you have the a pair of tweezers, a calibration tool, and then a weeding kit. So the weeding tool may be a little different depending on which when it is that you have purchased it. But that weeding tool is typically used with our vinyl media, so that way you can pull out any of the media in those inner letters or those uh, things that might be small and require a little bit of extra nuance. I like to keep the tweezers around personally because I don't have great fingernails, and if there are small bits that come out when we are doing a cut job, the tweezers are very useful to kind of do that cleanup after the fact. Now that we've covered some of the key pieces that may come with the cutout maker. I want to highlight just a couple of other small areas here of note. We're going to start by zooming in on the control panel right down here. There we go. So when we are looking at the control panel, you'll see that it is pretty straightforward. There's only two buttons here. One is stop and the other is go. Stop is on the left and go is on the right. Uh, the main panel that is right above that will always tell you what it is that you should be doing or should expect to take care of. I'm going to move the camera just a little bit more to look over here on the left-hand side of the device. And you'll see here is where we have our connection cables for this particular machine. There is also the power button that is right back here. We do recommend that you are aware of where all of these are because sometimes you may need to go through and power cycle your device just to reset things. That is also something that does get used on occasion when you are working with some of the maintenance materials, which again are covered in individual videos on the VariQuest Resource Center. All right, we're going to go ahead and zoom out now. And we'll pan just a little bit so that we can look specifically at our design center software. All right, so here I'm going to just go ahead and zoom in on our design center and the design center software. You will need to have the design center software installed on a computer that is physically connected to your Cutout Maker 2800. The connection point will be a USB cable, and that can be connected in typically the back of the design center if you are using the design center that's been purchased through VariQuest. If you're using a different laptop or machine that you just happen to have at the school, that is great. Just make sure that you have a available USB port for connecting your cutout maker to that device. When you're looking at the Design Center software as a whole, the first time that you are setting it up, you'll actually start on this Workroom Assistant screen. You can go into the user documentation section right here in the top left. That will take you through, or I should say, give you access to PDFs on how the Design Center as well as the Cutout Maker 2800 work. That can be a great reference point if you are kind of a tactile learner and you want to actually read something in front of you as opposed to listening to me take you through a training like this. The other thing of note is within the setup area right here on the right-hand side, you should be able to go through, oops, I went just a little bit too far. Within the setup area, you're able to choose which devices it is that you're going to connect to your design center. You can also update information related to your school as well as document name lists. Within the school information area here, you are able to enter in a school name as well as a mascot that you can use for our different printed materials. And then from a name list standpoint, you do have the ability to go through and upload a name list for a particular class. I do want to let you know that the library here is shared for everyone who has access to this particular device. And so if you have multiple educators who will be using the name list area, we do recommend using a naming convention. Typically, what we've seen most schools be successful with is using teacher last name dash list name. So potentially Smith dash third grade. That way, if multiple users are coming in and working with a name list, they are not going to accidentally grab or change someone else's list. Once we have gone through and selected which devices we have as an output, we can see here on the primary menu that we've got the Cutout Maker 2800 loaded. From here, we can simply tap on the Cutout Maker And then we will have multiple options on where it is that we can go and search for a particular template or item to cut. One of the simple, or most simple, I should say, options is letters and numbers. Here, this allows you to simply go through and enter in any type of text. It should be noted that we do have the access for Spanish letter characters. Tapping on that will give you the different options such as the N with a tilde on it or the different vowels that have accents over top of them. You can simply tap on Spanish letters once again in order to get back to the primary English keyboard. From here, once we go through and type something in, I'm just going to go ahead and type my name as an example. We can choose to select next at the bottom of the screen. And from here, we've got the option to go through and make a couple of variations related to our text. The first thing of note is you can use just normal letters. You can connect your letters so that they all touch each other. That can be a nice feature because if you happen to be hanging this on a wall or something like that, you may only need to use 2 points of contact as opposed to using a whole bunch of tape or glue or something like that. If you don't necessarily like the way that the letters connect, you can choose to add a bar instead. That simply keeps all of the letters separated, but puts a bar at the bottom of them so that way, again, they're all still connected, which makes it a little bit easier to hang. For some media, it can be useful to preserve your letter order. This is particularly important if you are going to use any of the vinyl media that we offer. The vinyl media is something that oftentimes is used for putting lettering on windows or potentially on signage that you might store outside. When you preserve the letter order, that simply makes sure that everything appears on the um, cutout exactly as you would expect to see it on a window, meaning that you don't have to manipulate it as much when you are transferring it from the primary vinyl sheet onto the final product. I'm going to just use normal text for right now, and then I can go through and look at a variety of different layouts in terms of what I want my font to look like. It should be noted, as you can see right here, that this particular design center has premium access that has been enabled. That means that you have access to all of the different content that is in there. If your school has not purchased the premium license, you will have access to only 2 fonts and then a limited number of shapes. You will be able to see which fonts are enabled by selecting through them. If they are not enabled, they will be grayed out and you will not be able to select them. In this particular situation, I'm going to choose the font Patrick and choose Next. And from here, I can go through and determine what size of media I have, as well as what type of media it is that I'm going to use. For this particular example, I am going to use just some basic construction paper. You do see here in the top left that it does call out the material size. One of the nice things with that, I'm going to actually zoom out and look back at our cutout maker for just a moment, is when we are looking at our cutout maker, you'll see that there is a nice ruler system here along both the left-hand side as well as the top side. This can be great because if you are trying to be mindful of how much paper it is that you're using, you might cut smaller sections or kind of keep the unused material. And then when you place it on the cutout maker, you're able to see exactly what the size is. So that way you can as we shift back over to the Design Center screen here, you would be able to use the custom function right here to say what the size of your kind of scrap paper is, so that way you're making the best use of it. In this example, we are simply using our heavy construction paper, and we have a full sheet of 12 by 18 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and select next. And you can see that the letters have been kind of placed out of order, again, because it's trying to maximize the amount of space that ends up getting used. So that way you still have paper that's left over that can be used again. The other thing that is nice is, as I'll show you in a moment, you do have the ability to cut out additional items or add additional things beyond just these handful of letters to this sheet. You can also go through and change the size of these letters. So you might say that we want it to be 4 inches or 6 inches or maybe only 2 inches. We'll just leave it at 4 for the time being, and then go ahead and choose next. If you wanted to do multiple copies, you could document that here. Or once you've chosen next, you can also add more items to this particular job. So we'll go ahead and select add more, and from here, choose shapes. Within the shapes area, you can search by either a keyword or by category. We'll choose category in this example. And from here, if I choose animals, for example, I might choose animal and then cat. And we like this one right here, this Siamese cat. So again, going through and simply adding that to the job, we've got the ability to change the size of that particular item. So I've just gone ahead and bumped it up to be about 6 inches in size. And again, the Cutout Maker Design Center software is trying to maximize the amount of space that will end up being cut. So I'm going to go ahead and choose next, next one more time, and a third time. I am not going to save this particular job, but if I wanted to, I would have the ability. As noted with the name lists at the very top of the training, anything that ends up being saved will be put into a kind of centralized library, and that library will be seen by all of the educators. So again, we recommend using a naming convention for that effort. Once that has been done, we're actually going to follow the instructions that are on the display of the Cutout Maker in order to complete our job. So we'll scroll over to the Cutout Maker. All right, here, if we zoom in a little bit to look at the display panel, it says that we want to load heavy construction paper, any color to the left-hand side, and then press go. Once that is done, you may notice that there is a suction fan that comes on underneath of our Cutout Maker that's going to hold the paper down tight to the Cutout Maker. And from here, once we've made sure that there aren't any air bubbles or anything, we can go ahead and press go one more time. So once that has been done, the Cutout Maker is going to go through and check its tip sensor in the top right, and then go through in order to cut our job from the left-hand side of the device over towards the right. Uh, I do want to let you know, while the Cutout Maker is running here, that you want to be very mindful of what types of media it is that you put on here, and that when you are going through to do your cut job, that you are selecting the correct media in the Design Center software to match what it is that you will be cutting. The reason why is because construction paper is a different thickness than, for example, the vinyl media or the magnetic media, and we want to make sure that you have the best possible cut that there is. So we encourage you to always visit the VariQuest Resource Center in order to see the different medias that are available. You can also order them from there, as well as any of the additional kits that we talked about at the top of the call. Those are the additional blades, or the maintenance kits, or the tip assembly replacement kit. So we can see now that we should be all set as it relates to our cut job here. And we just go ahead and kind of pop right out of the construction paper. We've got our little cat here as an example. And then we've also got my name, which again, didn't cut in the exact letter order, but that's because I didn't ask it to. Most of the time, the items will just drop right out, but sometimes, particularly if you have an older blade, you might see that there's a little bit of sticking, or potentially if you have not selected the right media type, you might see that there's a little bit of sticking. So again, I always encourage you to check the media that you have selected, as well as the type that you are loading onto the cutout maker. A couple of things of note. First off, we're going to actually scroll back over to our design center, because you'll see right here that the cutout maker design center software has gone through to let us know that the cut has been completed. If something did not cut correctly, you could choose to recut a specific page or recut the entire job. In this case, we're going to say that everything worked well, and we're going to go back to the main screen. The other thing that I do want to note back on the cutout maker, we'll just scroll back over here, is as we are looking at the cutout maker, again, sometimes you'll end up with small pieces like potentially the eye of that cat that fall out or get stuck on the cutout maker. We do recommend from a maintenance standpoint that you regularly clean the cutout maker. The specific kind of schedule or agenda can be found within the maintenance manual, which again is available in the Design Center software underneath of our documentation area that I showed a little bit earlier. But we recommend that occasionally you go through and wipe down the mat with isopropyl alcohol, and then also that you potentially change the display mat. A couple of things of note. I'm going to again push the gantry over just a little bit here so that I can show a few things. You may notice here on the right-hand side of the machine that there are these plastic tabs. This is where you'll be able to go through and remove that that protective mat from your cutout maker. We recommend replacing this mat somewhat regularly, once a year to be safe. Although depending on how frequently you use it, you may want to have it replaced more frequently or potentially less frequently. Again, it can all depend. But what we will recommend is that periodically you take the mat out, clean it, and then you may rotate it 180 degrees. So this end here gets flipped over to the other side. That way, things just start to kind of cut evenly across it. So you get more even wear and tear throughout the course of the life cycle. And the other thing that I do want to note is here in the very top right, that is where the tip sensor lives. If you look at any of our videos as it relates to maintenance, we will call this out. This area here in particular is where I like to use a little bit of compressed air every so often in order to spray that out. The reason why is because that little area there can get extra fibers caught in it when you're cutting a lot of construction paper. And so you might want to um, go through and clean that every so often, just to make sure that each time you're going through in order to start a new cut or a new job, that you don't end up with any challenges. All right, we're going to jump back over to our Design Center software here, because there are a couple of other items particularly associated to the Cutout Maker 2800 that I do want to show you. One of the items that is available is our collections option. So we already looked at our letters and numbers. We looked at our shapes. That's where we got our cat. But then we also have an area for collections. You can search through the collections just like we did before using the category area, or you can search for a specific item. I like to look in the science and nature area. And here uh, you can see that we've got a few different kind of collections that can get put together. One of them is actually, if we look in our, oh wait, I want to choose, all right. So you can see that there's a wide variety of different options that are available. You can see the primary categories up here at the top, and then you have different subcategories down here at the bottom. So one of the things that can be very useful when you're going through and looking at these is these are all different things that can be put together as a full bulletin board by themselves. So an example here might be this choose your plate over on the right-hand side. What this does is it has a whole collection of different individual shapes that you might choose to cut out to make a large bulletin board for later. You may also cut out individual items for your students as a interactive game or an interactive lesson where they have to identify the different fruits, vegetables, um, starches, or dairy products to kind of identify where they would happen to live within a kind of a healthy meal or a balanced meal. When you're going through in order to select a particular collection, you'll be able to determine the full size of the, or first you'll be able to select what the media is. Again, we're going to use our 12 by 18 inch heavy construction paper. And then here, you'll see that you're able to select what the overall size of this particular bulletin board is going to be. You can simply use the plus or minus arrows in order to make something larger. And depending on which one you select, you'll notice that the height or width will correspond with that. So as you're going through and putting together a larger size bulletin board, you might go through and start seeing that get put together. And when you have determined the size that you want it to be, we're going to choose that it's a 20 by 20. We can choose next. And at this point, we'll see that there are going to be 32 pages that we need to go ahead and cut. The reason for this is because there are individual colors that get used or individual colored paper that gets used for each of our different items. So as we start looking through, we've got the croissant, we've got our little dairy area, we've got my plate, and the cheeses, fruits, proteins, all of those different items that'll end up getting cut. Once you've looked through and you've seen that all of that looks good, you can choose to go ahead and select Next at the bottom, and that'll take you through the same cut process that you saw earlier. I'm actually going to scroll up and out to show an example of what this might look like after it's been done, because it's one that we've put together before. So here on the left, this is an example of that collection all put together. You can see that all of those items have been cut out on individual sheets of construction paper and then assembled on our bulletin board. One of the other items that you may notice is to the right of that is a hard sign or a metal sign that says bully free zone. This is an example of some of the signage that you're able to put together using the vinyl material that is available through VariQuest in order to have it added to your, or in order to have it cut within the cutout maker. The last item that I did want to call out as we are looking at the Design Center software is a newer feature that's available for the Cutout Maker 2800 specifically called My Shape. I'm going to again zoom down here and look at the Design Center a little bit. So here on that main panel, you'll see that there is an option called My Shape. My Shape allows you to create a custom shape within Adobe Illustrator and then export it from Adobe Illustrator in an .ai file, so a Adobe Illustrator file. Once you've created that outside of the VariQuest software in Adobe Illustrator, you are able to save that particular file and import it into the Design Center software. I have already actually gone through and created a Adobe Illustrator file that I'm going to look up and import. In order to do that, we simply select My Shape at the bottom. And then here in the primary section right here, we'll be able to see all of the different items that we have saved or imported into our Design Center software at this point. It is worth noting that right now, I have not saved anything, which is why it's blank. But just like I've talked about with the other libraries in the Design Center, it is going to be a shared library. So if you are importing different files, we recommend that you name them in a specific way so you'll be able to identify yours and other folks will be able to identify which ones belong to them. To import a particular file, you'll simply choose Import, and then I have actually saved that .ai file to our desktop. Otherwise, you can simply search through the different installed areas or a flash drive to find where that particular file has been saved. Once you have chosen it, you can go ahead and click on it. You'll see a preview here in the upper right-hand corner. If you want, you can go through and rotate it, or simply select OK. From here, we'll go ahead and select OK. You can see that it's been imported, and now it belongs within our library as a whole. If we want to cut that now, we can simply choose Cut, and then it'll take us through the same process that we used earlier when we were going to do a new cut job, where we have to select our particular material. Again, you can see that we've got construction paper, laminated construction paper, card, bond, and then two specialty items, which again are our magnetic media and our vinyl media. Both of those, we do strongly recommend that you check out the Resource Center. Again, that's resources.variquest.com in order to see those particular items and order them. You may be able to find other magnetic or vinyl media out there, but we cannot commit that they will be cut correctly on the Cutout Maker 2800. So we do always recommend that you go to the Resource Center to find exactly what it is that will work best for you on this device. Again, in this case, we can simply select our heavy construction paper. We can choose the particular size that we want. You'll notice that when we have a smaller size, it's being put in that top right corner. If we go larger, it might rotate it so that way it's on a new axis. And so everything will fit on a single page. And then we can go through just like before, change the number of shapes, potentially add more things to this cut job, and then go through and cut it just like we did before. Because we already saw how the cutout maker works and cut those couple of options before, we don't necessarily need to do that right now, but I did want to make sure that you were aware it is available. So this has been a review of the Cutout Maker 2800 as well as the Design Center software that goes with it. Again, let me just zoom out a little bit so you're able to see the Cutout Maker. Thank you very much for taking the time on the training today. If there are questions, we do always welcome them. You can reach us by visiting the Resource Center and then choosing the email or call option. We are always happy to help and hope that you have a wonderful day.